Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro. Now, we're going to make this video really quickly, and I'm going to spin this around right now. So I'm out at Stormwater Treatment System in Brisbane here, and it's just started raining quite heavily. And it's really interesting, but just a few seconds ago, this little flow spreader here had no water flowing through it, and just in like the last 30 seconds or so, all this water started coming down this channel that you can see up here, because it started raining quite heavily, well, a bit heavily, only a few minutes ago. So I just decided to whip the camera out and kind of watch how this works. So you can even see just as how we're going. If you want to rewind the video, look at how full this channel was a few seconds ago, and now look, it's filling up now. So right, and I'll try and show you this just with my finger. So right along there is a concrete weir. So it's completely flat. So the water's coming in, being held by it, and it's filling up behind the weir, and in only a few moments, I'm guessing, it's going to start to spill over. And so what I wanted to show you here is how useful it can be to be out on site while it's raining, because you can pick up little things. This weir looks dead flat, but one thing that might happen here is that it might break out over it in one spot before the others, and then we might learn something about how the system functions. I don't know if that's going to happen, I'm just guessing. I haven't actually been to this system before when it rains, but okay, it's really filling up now. Still got water coming in, you can kind of see it bubbling up the channel a little bit there. It's filling up, it's filling up. It's going to break out in just a second. Let's be patient and see where it goes. I'm voting it's going to break out over here first. I'm watching, but I'm holding the camera on that spot for you. And it's ready. Is it about to go? Is it about to go? Bang, it's just started breaking out. Wow, the weir's actually really flat. It started breaking out over a whole bunch of different spots all at once. Okay, that's cool. That's good design. We learned something. This weir is actually flat. That's really useful. So we will wander down here, and again, we're kind of demonstrating what you can find out by being at a system when it rains and what you can learn from it. So we're watching here, water starting to kind of spread out through the grass. I'm just going to try and get a little bit closer here. Okay. Down in here, I can see it starting to trickle this way. There we go, flowing through. Also flowing through the plants just over there. It's filling up. This is actually really cool. So glad that I did this. And obviously you've got to get a little bit wet to be able to have a look at this, right? Okay, so we've got lots of water flowing through here. I'm actually going to walk back up the weir because I'm curious to see exactly where this water's going. Okay, it's the water over my feet here. It's kind of about a foot deep over the weir, so it's really filled up in here now. So it's breaking out, and obviously you shouldn't go and walk through stormwater like this, right? This is dangerous. Who knows what the heck is in here? Good thing I have my safety Crocs on. So the water's kind of breaking out. This is really interesting, actually. So the water is getting through some of the plants here, but it's also being held up by a lot of this leaf litter, like so. And we've still got a bit of velocity coming down the channel here. So the bits that are breaking out over on the left side there, not much velocity. But in the channel itself, there's still a fair bit of velocity. You can see the leaves floating down, heading down to this end, like so, and then breaking out. Sorry, I've got to be so careful because I'm walking along the top of the weir and I don't want to step off the left-hand side of it. But then it's breaking out down this edge. You can see all this velocity running down here. Whoops, across the channel, I go, and making its way quite rapidly down this edge here where there's no plants to impede it. Now, I've been to this system a few times, so as I say, this is the first time I've been here when it's actually just started raining to see exactly what happens here. And what we're seeing is this preferential flow path coming down the channel along the edge here. It's running all the way along here. So I'm trying to get a look into the plants themselves, but once you actually go into the plants a fair bit, the water's made it a lot quicker along the edge. And that wouldn't surprise you, right? Because it's got less to kind of impede its flow. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a wander right down the end here and tell you why this is interesting to me. Besides the fact that it's generally interesting to learn about this stuff. But you can see as we're walking down, there's this bare spot here. And I've thought for a while, hey, I reckon the water's running preferentially along here and over time gradually eroding this. By the way, sorry for the poor sound quality today. I decided to make this video literally on about 10 seconds notice. I saw all the water started coming in and I was just like, bam, let's go. Okay, so we come down here, we start to get to this point, and we start to really notice a bit more erosion. There's a lot more rocks here that are exposed. It's lost a little bit of the topsoil. And this has really only happened over the past couple of months or so. It gets more significant here when we get a little bit more grade on it. So everywhere back up behind us that we've come through has been pretty flat, right? But just as we come around here, we start to get a little bit more grade. And yeah, you can see the erosion starting to happen more and more and more. And I've had this hypothesis for a little while that exactly what's happened here is what took place. I thought the weir might not have been perfectly flat. That was one thing, that was proven wrong. But the fact that we have this channel here that has no vegetation and the water can get through that a lot easier, that suggests to me that that this is what's allowing water to flow through here easily and quicker and with more velocity. I've got some photos of this particular site from days where I've been here after it had rained and it had filled up and it was draining out, and you could see that the water through this little channel along here, along the edge, like so, you could clearly see the quicker velocity running through this this particular channel here compared to the water that was sitting very still up in the plants. Now don't get me wrong, the still water's good, right? Because we want it to be treated. And so I'm looking at this particular site and going, okay, there are many good things about this site, but if I wanted to, I suppose, make it a little bit more durable, maybe prevent a bit of a problem in the future, I'd be looking to plant up this little side channel densely like the rest of the system. So just plant like just another row of carrocks. Like look how good all the carrocks are doing in here, right? They are super green, super healthy. You can see, for anyone who doesn't know, that's a carrots right there. Super healthy. Just planting a few more of those right along the edge here and a little bit up the bank to stabilize the bank as the turf is kind of creeping down into the edge to to get rid of this channel and to spread the water back across the system, because we want to slow it down. We want to stop this happening. So because what I think is going to happen, and sorry that I'm a bit all over the place today, I didn't really think this episode through given I only did it on 10 seconds notice, is what I think is going to happen over time is every time this rains, you're going to get water preferentially flowing down this path over here. It's going to get eroded more and more and more and more. Eventually the bank's going to start to collapse in a little bit, and eventually you're going to get to a spot where you have a bit of a problem. I mean, here's the thing, right? If we're eroding the treatment system itself, which is meant to be stripping out sediment and nitrogen and phosphorus and those sorts of things, if we're eroding the treatment system itself, we have a problem, because that in itself is taking dirt and sediment downstream. So we want to stop that, right? So in my mind, this is a case of, well, the damage isn't too bad now. It's been quite a few months and it hasn't sustained that much damage. If someone was to get in here now and just to do a little bit of planting, it'd be pretty cheap. We could prevent this from happening and the system's going to function for ages. However, if we really took our time about this problem's going to get worse and it's going to cost us more in the long run. So what I'm curious to see now is this water is slowly making its way down to us and it stops raining. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and come right over into the center of the system. I'm going to walk in at the point where the water is at the edge here, and then I'm going to try and walk up the center and see when I actually get to the water to give you an idea. So the water's right here, top of the system is up there. I'm going in. Let's see how much quicker the water has come down that side channel than through the center. So I've come into the middle and now I'm trying to walk forwards through the middle of this to see where I find some water. So nothing yet. Still, obviously I'm getting wet, but not from water that's come from the front. Still really quite dry. Oh, okay, I've got a bit coming here and that's coming in from the side. Keeping walking forward here. Okay, and now I meet some. Hey, check this out. Kind of creeping its way forward through the system. So what we've got here is, I would estimate that, I maybe walked 40% of the back to water coming. It's flowing really quickly. No wonder we're not seeing any erosion in the center, but we're seeing erosion down the edge of the system. And this is all the sorts of things that, by having seen this system a few times in the dry or just after rain, I had a bit of an indication that this was the case, but I couldn't be sure. But now that I've been out here in the wet, I've learnt just so much stuff. And here's the thing, it stopped raining. I'm not even getting wet anymore, apart from my feet as I'm walking through the water. But by coming out in the rain, on the spur of the moment, right, I have been able to test some hypotheses about this, how this system works, and it's reinforced in my mind what I think we need to do to fix this system up. So let's wander back up to the top now and see what it's looking like up here. Wow, so it's really filled up. Yeah, really filled up quite a lot here, but it's really noticeable. It might be tough for you on the video, right? But it's really noticeable for me here, just how much of a preference the water has for this little side channel, because you can see it coming in. So using the leaf litter that's floating on top, I can see it coming in, whoops, there we go, down the channel like so. And you see a little bit of the water spreading out to the side, but there's a clear preference of velocity down and into this side channel here. So look, I'll wander back down the end because I really just want to show you this kind of finish up and this get back out the end of this system here. But yeah, cool. It's just so noticeable how much quicker the water flows when there's no veg next to it. So even right here, I hope you can see this. So you can see close to the bank, the water's moving super fast. And then the closer you get to the vegetation, just the slower it moves, and so on. It's just so noticeable, and you just couldn't pick that up and couldn't learn about that unless you were here, you know, during or shortly after rainfall. So again, wandering, down we go. Actually, this gives a good indication of how quickly it takes the water to kind of get through this system, right? So it wasn't a massive rainfall event. It was, you know, a bit got down. And I started filming 12 minutes ago, at this point, 12 and a half. And the water is now just getting around this bend here. So it's come all the way from up there. So it's probably 2/3 of the way through this side channel now. Obviously it's much further back up in the system, but 2/3 of the way through this particular little side channel. Let's see what happens. This is what I really want to see, is what happens once it gets over these eroded bits of water here. So let's watch it. I'm interested to know, will it start to get through these last bits quicker than it did through the first bits? Because we've now got a little bit of grade here. Will it be noticeable how quickly it can get through here? Actually, you know what I am interested in here? It's just about to get to this little stick here, which is kind of blocking the flow path. I wonder if that's going to do anything to slow it up, or if it's just going to push it around the side. Because of course another solution to this could be just a bunch of, not even planting, but just a bunch of kind of woody debris along the edge to catch some leaf litter and slow some stuff up. So getting to the branch, what's going to happen? The branch isn't quite flat on the ground, it's just gone straight under it. It did pull up, it did have to spread a little bit to make that happen, but it has got straight through. Okay, continuing to flow. It's not really picking up any pace, if anything. No, it's much like it was. The front of this is creeping slowly, and obviously if you look further back up the channel, it's flowing really quickly here. But very intriguing. I'm sorry this is now taking a little bit of time here, but hopefully we're still learning things. It's been about 2 minutes. Wow, that last 2 minutes has gone really quickly for me. It's been about 2 minutes since I made that comment of it only being about 12 minutes, and it's getting its way down the channel. So let's follow it a little bit more. Okay, look, I'm not expecting anything crazy to happen. What we've got, okay, well, I can see what's happening now. There's now enough erosion here that there's kind of a defined channel here that's about 30 centimeters wide. The water's clearly flowing down it over all this gravel. It's got no chance of spreading out anymore. You can see it filling up around the stick that we were looking at before. And so quite clearly this is just going to keep flowing down this channel here. And a heck of a lot of the water coming through this system is simply bypassing the veg. So let's recap. So The key takeouts from this particular video are, number one, just how much you can learn by visiting stormwater infrastructure in the wet. And sometimes that requires you to, I suppose, react on the spur of the moment. So I was at home today. I just live up the road about, or not even a kilometre from here. Started raining. I was like, I'm going to go check this out. Got up, drove out. 5 minutes later, I'm here. Only a minute or two later, a whole lot of water starts flowing in, and I'm videoing. So sometimes you got to be really quick, but you can learn heaps. Wow, okay, actually that just picked up a bit of pace, I think, flowing through here. Look at it go, look at it go. So here's an interesting dilemma. So we start to see some grass invading into this channel here. And so this is where, from a maintenance point of view, having people who have a real full understanding of the system. So I get concerned sometimes as we're trying to set up maintenance programs for this green infrastructure, and we're trying to set up tick boxes of like, okay, you need to come and inspect the inlet. Is there any of this? Is there any of that? Oh, is there litter? You must remove that litter. Oh, there's sediment, you must dig that out. But the problem is we try and set up tick boxes for these sorts of things, that it's really hard to set up a system that gives the collective to look at the system as a whole. And here's an example of it. I'll try and give you an example here. So if we were setting up tick boxes to maintain this system, what we would probably say is, okay, there's meant to be lots of emergent grassy species in the middle. There are some trees in the center, like these melaleucas. There are some young trees growing up on the edge, which are those casuarinas there. And then there's a turf batter, which I think is a good idea. It stabilizes the batter. And that we need to make sure the turf doesn't get into the planted veg itself and doesn't run around madly inside it. Okay, how are we going to do that? Well, we might make sure that we have a very clear edge to this system, so that like a clear delineation where turf one side, grasses and sedges on the other. The problem with that is that someone then comes in and look at this bit, right? The grass is starting to get into this channel. So I've decided this channel is a problem because all this water is able to run straight down the edge of it, right? But then you got this grass starting to grow into the channel, which might actually be a good thing. And you can even see it here. To a certain extent, those tufts of grass are managing to slow up that water and divert it around a little bit more. So to a certain extent, this grass that's growing here might actually be good for this system, particularly if it kind of spread a little bit further. It could help to stabilize it. Same with this stuff emerging here. And so this is where you get into a problem with fairly standard, this kind of tick box approach to maintenance, because the tick box would say, well, that grass shouldn't be there, it's on the base, the grass should be retained on the batters only, so you should somehow get rid of this grass. And they might decide to spray it, or they might hand pull it, or any of a number of things, right? But if you have a collective understanding of this system, if you can look at it as a whole, you would go, okay, I get that the grass is theoretically a problem, but in the context of this other problem, which is this channel, maybe it's better to have the grass here because it might stop that erosion getting any worse. Like, as that grass a little bit further down, I was trying to point it out to you, just there, has spread out across the channel. And maybe that's a better thing. Maybe it's not perfect, like long-term solution. Maybe you want to remove the grass and plant more carex and lomandras and that sort of thing right up to the edge here to slow it down. But if you're running this tick box approach, who knows? It's unlikely that someone who's just there going, okay, I need to remove the litter, I need to do this, I need to do that, is going to pick up on that, is going to go, actually, I need to deviate from the tick box plan and I need to do this. It's much more of an adaptive management approach. And this is why I tend to favor an approach to maintenance where you have a really high skilled team who can look at the system as a whole and go, okay, the end goal is this. We have these, general things that we, normally do. So we normally remove litter, we normally look for sediment accumulation, we normally remove weeds, but I am going to prioritize more than anything else understanding the function of the system as a whole, and then I am going to react however I see best, right? So it puts a lot of faith in the operator, but I just have a funny feeling that that's how this would this would work. It's a very different approach to what we're used to with stormwater infrastructure, but I just have a funny feeling that it's best. Okay, so look, we've probably seen enough of this now. It's definitely proven my thoughts that this channel exists here and it's acting as a preferential flow path, because I can see there's there's no water in that part of the main system in the center there. So don't get me wrong, there is water coming through here that's being treated, and certainly this system has acted to slow up the water that came through it, because the water that was rushing in at the very beginning of that would have very quickly, so there's a channel that runs down kind of the back of this between the system and the trees behind it, runs through there and reconnects back in at the base of the system. So if the system hadn't been here, that water would have flowed really quickly down to the creek. So this has certainly slowed that water up. It's certainly treated some of it, but we've got this little niggling issue that we need to fix. But the take-home message that I want you to take from this is, okay, that's all well and good. We've discussed a whole bunch of points there, but we simply couldn't have been sure of that if we hadn't come out here in the weather, in the rain. Again, it's not even raining anymore, but it was when I got here. Came out in the rain and looked at actually what happens when the water went through it. You just can't, you can deduce a whole bunch of stuff from being here in the dry. You can deduce a whole bunch of stuff if I turned up right now and saw this water already here. I could make some guesses as to what was going on, but I can only be absolutely sure if I actually turn up here as it's raining, as the water's flowing in, and I can watch what happens. Cool, that's it. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Ideanthro. I apologize again about the sound, but I didn't expect to make this episode right this second. So if you have any questions, if you've heard something we've said today, you'd like to know more, you'd like to add to it, you'd like to contribute, by all means get in touch. Because here's the thing, right? We feed off these conversations. We love this stuff, but we love it even more talking to you about it and respond, like in a conversation, not just us going, okay, this is interesting, let's make a video, but actually going, let's have a conversation about this. You're interested in this, I'm interested in that. How do we bring these two things together and learn from each other? So if you've got questions, thoughts, anything like that, by all means, get in touch. You can find us online at ideanthro.com. On the connect page on the website, you can find contact details and a form to fill out to submit a question. You can find us on Facebook, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Instagram. Sweet, that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.